Good morning. It is 10 a.m. on June 27, 2023. We'll call to order the meeting of the Story County Board of Supervisors. Please stand with me if you're able and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt today's agenda?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Merkin. Edens.
Aye.
Basil. Aye. Now it's time for public comment. Number one, this period is for the public to address topics on today's agenda. Anyone wishing to make public comment, you can step forward to the table or raise your hand on Zoom. Seeing no one raise their hand or step forward, we'll close public comment number one and move to agency reports. First up, we have ACPC annual report. Good morning. You can just come to the table and you're going to want to pull it close to you and talk directly into it. You're going to sound really loud to yourself, but you're not. Okay. On the recording.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
This is my first time, so bear with me.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm from ACPC. I'm the newest director, so I have been there since October. And we have two sites. We serve school age, and we have a main center, which currently is at 18 months to 5 years. But starting in September will be 6 weeks to 12 months added onto that. Thanks to the city funds. We believe in high quality education. So our asset funds goes to helping families afford that education. And we serve about 52% of our families are low income. And so that helps offset the fees for those families. In this past year, since I came on board, we got some funding from the state and from the city. So we were also able to do some improvements to the building. Our building is very old. And so it has assisted with updating some floors, some siding, new buses that are safer than the vans, and lots and lots of toys and equipment for the children. I talked a little bit about the infant room, so that will start in September, and we're just looking at a bright future.
Any questions?
I do. It might be just a typo. Looking at the report provided on I think it's the second paragraph, ACPC serves children 18 months to 12 years. You served to 12 years?
Yes, so at their 12th birthday is when they have to discontinue care at our after-school program.
Great,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
And do you have staff already for your infant room?
We have staff for the infant room because we're moving staff in the center. ACPC believes that with staffing, you staff +1. And so we have a lot of staff. And so that's helping us open the infant room. We will have to backfill.
Any other
I
questions?
have no questions, but thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
you.
the report. Moving now to University Community Child Care Annual Report. Good morning.
Morning. All right, my name is Stacy Lehman. I am the Executive Director at University Community Childcare. You have my report, so I just wanted to give you a few quick updates from last year when I was here last. We've had a pretty busy year. We've had some funds from the city of Ames as well, and used those funds to help stock classrooms with new toys, really worked on our playgrounds, and have gotten some new items, new mud kitchens, new water tables, block sheds, those sort of things that were on the playground. Iowa State has also been working with us to do some remodels and updates. We have had them redo our playgrounds. They took it down to dirt, graded it all, put new sod on, brought in some new playground mulch. So our playgrounds are set and ready to go, which the kids are really enjoying because they really hadn't been out there since last year in July. So it was a long process. Also, right now working with Iowa State University to replace our HVAC units, and got some good news from the contractors that they're going to come out and do it on weekends. And so not disrupting our classrooms during that process as well.
Any questions?
I don't think so.
I don't have any questions.
I
Thank
guess
you.
my only question would be the same question. How's your staffing for the infant room? Because I know for a while you weren't able to even open it. Is that right?
Still sitting,
Okay.
ready to go. We have been using it in those situations where we're working on playground remodels. That room is empty, and so we're able to slide kids in and kind of work through that way. Staffing is still the issue. Right now, we're working to fill one current staff member, and then we would need 2 for that infant space.
And then I do have a question. You said you have a lengthy waiting list for your infants and toddlers.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, is it like a year, 2-year type of wait?
Yeah, that infant wait, there's times when those families are on that list and won't make it until the preschool classrooms in reality. Right now, we have 88 on the infant and 72 for toddlers. And so even with that new infant space, yeah, we'd be able to add 8 more, but that's kind of where it would sit.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies.
Next, we have a report from Home Allies ARPA annual report, and I believe we have Loris Olson on Zoom. Loris, can you hear us? Okay. Oh, did we lose her? Oh, there.
Can you hear me now?
We
Yep.
can, thank you.
Okay, the old standard ask. Okay, sorry. Okay, it wanted to be updated, so it's now updated. Good morning. Okay, did you want me to just start?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'll apologize that I just got the report to Leanne at 5 a.m. this morning. I've been having some medical challenges here, been spending a lot of time with the doctors. So if there's typos, etc., obviously you guys know me. I would prefer not to have the typos, but so basically what the report is telling you is that we have not started the project yet. I've given you some background information a little bit, of course, about the project being the 8 units in 2 buildings. And the tenants will be low income. Most of them will be 30% or below of the area median income, and they will only pay 30% maximum of their monthly income toward rent, which means that we'll be using a variety of subsidies elsewise. The status is that the site has been approved. That's been for over a year now, and it's approved through March 8th of next year. And we can, it's my understanding, very easily request another year's extension on that. I've given you what we have raised in money so far, and you'll see, but we've got grants awarded for construction still of $145,000. Of those, the grant that will expire first now will be the grant from the Story County Housing Trust. They voted a month ago, the trust board voted to extend that grant through December. I was at a medical appointment and wasn't at that meeting. And so I have now informed them at this month's meeting that the builder has told me that he cannot get anything scheduled until next year as far as the contractors he wants to use to even break ground. Possibly maybe in November they might be able to break ground, but it will not be done anyway until next year, which then leads to the other big challenge that we've got going is that the interest rates continued to rise. It's expected to rise again, and we are now underwater as far as the amount of income that we can try to get for each one of those apartments, and that would be the HUD fair market rate. Maximum income is below what the actual payments plus the costs would be. So financially viable at an 80% loan to value loan is not possible right now. So I did inform you in the report I sent that right now the lender has said no. And so we need to raise more money in the next few months, or most likely we will need to go ahead and say that the project is canceled, because the other grants that are coming to us so far, with the exception of the county's money, but the money that is coming from the Kiwanis and the money that is coming from the city of Ames will expire on June 30th of 2024. And I don't believe that the city will go ahead and give another extension. In fact, they gave an extra $10,000 for this fiscal year toward the construction. So clearly the council supports the project, but there's just not, the increase has been so much, and the various delays with coming with labor shortages, and also, but the supplies have just raised the cost of this project from the initial $775,000 to now an estimate of about $1.2 million. The other challenges, of course, we have, as noted, that under challenges, that not only do we expect at least one more interest rate increase to occur by the Federal Reserve, which then gets passed on all the way through into what it costs for goods and what it will cost us to even borrow money. But that is that there are other projects out there that are also raising capital money. They launched at the same time or even before our project, and they still have not hit their targets. And so we've got a competition out there for money, and quite frankly, housing for homeless and housing insecure people moves to the back of a lot of people's donation piles when you've got some other higher profile projects. I did list the next steps here about that we need to do. So in July 2023, so next month, we're going to apply for to become an asset agency. That would be for asset funding in the fiscal year 24. And the 25, I just realized as a typo, because assets just entered into fiscal year 24. Excuse me on that. And that would be for the two units that are going to be completely compliant with ADA to be able to host someone who is confined to a wheelchair, because those are going to be built with the zero entry showers, the cabinets that are lower to be able to cook, etc., from a sitting position. Also, we were going to go ahead and going to refresh our website, and we're going to contact all of the current donors and let them know about the delay. People have been very patient. Some people have told me, yes, you need to go forward. It's just, we have held some people's money for over a year now, some donor money. In August 2023, we'll relaunch the fundraising campaign. We're going to focus with people on pointing out that we have been granted extensions, and that we're seeking supplemental gifts during this period. It's difficult to go out and say we need to get this built and then not hit our goals. So we'll be doing changing the message a bit to see if we can in fact get the projects built. Obviously, with the interest rates higher, it impacts a certain low income group of people, and so demand on our social agencies is increasing for that. we will work harder to tie in that demand to our citizens, to let them know how important it is that we set a new model to build long-term sustainable units for people. And then in August, we will fundraise from August to next February. And that's reapplying for grants, applying for more grants, soliciting additional donations. I will tell you that many of the grants that we applied for, we received back interest, but because this project has not broken ground yet, that we were told to reapply or to follow up on the applications after we actually had broken ground. But that they would not give any money prior to us having a project that looked like it was physically going forward. And so, of course, that's frustrating. What comes first, to get the money to build it, or to build it so you can get the money. So, and then so that we would anticipate that we really need to make the final call by January of 2024 and get a contract signed with the landowner and the general contractor. And going back up into some of the status that I noted is that we have approached the builder and asked, could we please buy the lots? Because that's very stressful for me every time the sign comes off of the lots. Even though we have right of first refusal first, if in fact they get another offer, I just going to have a few days to try and figure out a new plan to come up with to, acquire the property. And there are so few, if not any other properties in Ames that would meet the needs and be suitable for this project. So the landowner has declined to allow us to go ahead and purchase the property, even with a promise that we would use their construction company. So he wants a contract for the entire deal at one time, and a letter of approval from the bank, or us proving about assets, that we have enough assets to pay cash. And so if we don't have that in place by January of 2024, or we are not on target to be able to have that in place by the end of February, I just don't see how we should move forward and beyond that. Best case scenario would be break ground April of 2024, with the units being available for occupancy, hopefully in summer of 2024. Any questions?
Lois, this is Linda. I appreciate your tenacity, and I appreciate all the planning that you've done here. It looks like you're saying that the city funding is good through June 2024, and you're requesting the Housing Trust Fund to go till June 2024. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's probably similar to our deadlines, because as you know, we have to commit the ARPA funds by December 24 and have them expended by 26. So,
right.
So we really have been looking at mid next calendar year to if we needed to reallocate funds, and we hope we don't have to do that, but we need to think about that as well with you and others. So
yeah, I understand that, and thank you. And I have looked at some different solutions, including maybe, having the opportunity to have purchased that one motel and have turned it into some housing that we would have made a monthly excess income off of, that we could have shifted over to this project to help pay the payments. But the city zoning does not allow us to convert a hotel or a motel that is in highway oriented commercial into apartments, actual with a lease, which meant we couldn't get any of the vouchers for HUD. And through networking, I had been connected with a cash buyer for the motel. we had a buyer, and then Home Allies would have been the partner in running it. But it's unfortunate that the buyer has walked away because of they wanted to take advantage of the emergency vouchers that were Section 8 vouchers that were still out there. So we lost an opportunity to bring about 25 more units to Story County and very quickly for housing. And they weren't the preferred housing necessarily, but they would have filled a gap in between. But there's just no way we could get a text amendment done in time if we could even get one from the council. So it seemed to be the best way to figure out how to go ahead and approach this project from an alternate way. So I think, Linda, where we really are at this point is what can we raise in grants and individual donations? Otherwise, yes, I do understand that also, that we'll be relinquishing the money that you guys have kindly given also.
Well, I want to thank you for your creative thinking. You looked at various ways to make this work. And as we all know, when we embark in creative thinking, not all of those things are going to come to pass, but we still need to do it. And sometimes you hit on one and yes, it finally works. But I appreciate that and your dedication to this issue.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And actually, Laura, you answered my question in your overview of your project and with Linda's comment as well. So,
Okay.
Same. But do you want to say thank you also, Loris, for your work on this project?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure. Yes, thank you. And if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to leave now. I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon too. So I'm not going to stick around for the meeting, but it's good to see all of you again.
Thanks,
Take
Laura.
care.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Okay.
Next, we have Story County Housing Trust ARPA Annual Report. Good morning, Lucas.
Morning. Good morning. I'm Lucas Young. I'm here on behalf of the Story County Housing Trust. I want to start this morning by thanking the Board of Supervisors for the ARPA funds awarded to the Story County Housing Trust. Thank you. The ARPA funds have allowed the Story County Housing Trust to offer additional support for affordable housing in Story County via new projects and programs. The first program funded via the ARPA award is the placement of a Homes for Iowa house. The Homes for Iowa program offers homes built in Newton by Iowa Prison Industries. The 1,200 square foot home is moved to the project site, nearly complete. The result will be a new house affordably priced for households with an income of less than $100,000. The placement of a Homes for Iowa house, the Story County Housing Trust Board had hoped for a partnership with a community via donated or discounted lot. After 2 RFPs with no responses in 2022, the hunt for a lot was put on pause. Around that same time, it was announced that the 2023 Homes for Iowa production schedule was full. Since that time, the board has secured a production slot in 2024 and is actively working to acquire a lot. As of today, the board has 2 promising lot opportunities, and I anticipate the board will take action on a lot next month. Once the lot is secured, the bidding process for the foundation and initial utility work can begin in anticipation of home delivery in 2024. The second program funded by the supervisors is funding for first-time homebuyers. The program is designed to supplement the existing Iowa Finance Authority first-time homebuyer programs. The lenders in Story County who offer IFA programs have been notified of the funding. As of today, these funds have not been used. The final program the Story County Housing Trust has been working on with the ARPA award is a housing stipend for direct care workers. The intent was to use the stipend to recruit and retain workers who were most impacted by COVID-19, including CNAs, home health aides, and personal care aides. Last week at our June board meeting, the Story County Housing Trust Board had a lengthy discussion about how to equitably and effectively implement this program. The result of the discussion was more questions than answers. Since last week's board meeting, Leanne Harder and I have discussed the process to make program changes. I anticipate there will be a formal request to change the parameters of this program brought before you in the near future. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this update. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Lucas, can you just quickly touch on why the funds have not been used yet for the first-time home buyer assistance, just briefly?
So there are only two IFA participating lenders in Story County, and that is actual loan officers. There are banks in Story County, but actual loan officers that are approved through IFA, there are only two. So options are limited there as far as those funds being spent right now.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Do you anticipate they will be spent? Or
We
might
are-
there not be, may there be some unused money?
Within another role of what I work on, we are actively working to try to get additional bankers squared away with IFA. So I'm hopeful that, yes, those funds can be used.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you.
Next, we have Whistle Stop Child Care Center and Preschool ARPA annual update.
And they're on Zoom.
They're on Zoom. Okay. And we have Amy Vandenberg. Oh, we cannot hear you.
Amy, we can't hear you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
Perfect. My name is Amy Vandenberg. I am the director here at the Whistle Stop Academy in Huxley. We serve 126 children, ages 6 weeks to 10 years. And through the ARPA funds, we have been able to recruit and retain educated and experienced staff in our child care center by being able to provide them competitive wages. And through that, we have been able to have a very low turnover rate in our child care center. We are currently fully staffed and have 2 teachers that are on our full-time sub list, so that my long-term staff who have those benefits are able to take their vacation when needed. These funds have helped us to be selective with new hires when we do have staff members that have left for various reasons, like moving out of state and maternity leave. We've definitely been able to be more selective with our new hires and been able to provide them competitive wages as far as that goes. We have our retention rates with our staff is very high. I have 6 teachers that have been here with me 15 plus years. 1 staff member that's been here 20 years and another staff that will be with me for 11. And these funds have been able to help us obviously provide those competitive wages without passing that burden on to our families and having to raise our weekly tuition rates. So that's definitely been a relief to me. I am a director of a center over in Bondurant as well, and we have had to raise those rates in order to be able to provide the staff for that center. So it's definitely been a lifesaver for us to be able to provide quality childcare to these families without having to pass on a financial burden of increasing weekly tuition rates.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Amy, I do have a couple of questions
Yes.
really quick. Have you been able to open up any additional slots
We actually haven't opened additional slots, but we have been able to stay full in all of our classrooms at capacity. Whereas prior to ARPA funding, some of our classrooms were under capacity due to the inability to find educated and experienced staff for those positions. So we are now at capacity, and we have I believe my most recent report I sent in, we have 15 new infants starting with us on our waiting list that are guaranteed spots between August and December. And 7 of which of those are brand new families to our center, and the rest are current in-home families that have other siblings here. So we are definitely able to stay on top of that and stay fully enrolled thanks to these ARPA funds, which will help us to be able to continue these competitive wages past when we have used up all of our ARPA funds. So
That's great. That was my next question.
absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work. Next, we have YSS annual report. It's still morning. Good morning.
YSS abbreviated annual. Appreciate the guidance. Latifa, Andrew Allen, President, CEO. My most important title, as you guys know, is alumnus. So I get the pleasure of going to work for the organization that saved my life every day, and could not be more proud. We love being headquartered in Story County. We feel like the services here are rich. We're grateful for the support that we get from Story County. Sandra does a great job as a liaison. We've had lots of turnover. I mean, YSS actually hires, you won't believe this, or maybe you will, 200 people a year. So we've got 330 employees, but some of them stay for 6 months. Some of them stay for over 30 years. And I'm grateful that the core management team that exists within the organization is very tenured. So I wish that we could retain all of our direct care staff like Whistle Stop does so well. And we'll continue to think about being creative as it relates to recruitment and retention. But grateful today to be joined by 3 colleagues, all of whom I believe we have an average tenure north of 10 years. So let's go ahead and start with Jen Schmidt, who took over from Jerry Bugg, who'd been with the organization for more than 25 years. Jen has a very diverse set of community, youth, and family development programs really focused on prevention.
Hi, thank you so much. So we oversee in CYFD a lot of different programs. So I'm just going to highlight 2 of them. First being our Kids Club program, which is a before and after school program. We are in the Ballard, Gilbert, and Roland Story school districts, and we serve 259 children this school year. From our family survey, 100% of those families felt that Kids Club had a positive impact on their child's life. 96% of those families feel that Kids Club is an inclusive environment where staff are accepting of all students and their families. 89% of those families felt that Kids Club helped their children build relationships with peers and adults. 100% of those families felt that Kids Club is a safe environment for their children. 91% of those families felt that the activities and materials of Kids Club promote healthy choices and lifestyles. And then 93% of those families felt the activities and materials of Kids Club promote learning. So a couple of our successes, we are able to collaborate with many organizations and outside partners. Some of those being ISU Extension and ISU Environmental Studies to bring in programming for our students. We also implemented clubs for our students. Those are student-led, so the students will pick out those clubs, so they get very excited about them, and they get to learn about different topics every single week. We also do service learning projects with our students. The one that they love the most is obviously caring for animals. So they did donate blankets and created toys for the Ames Animal Shelter this year as well. We are very fortunate. We do have a holiday giving program at YSS. So we were able to provide 4 families with Christmas presents for their children as well. More than 4, but we highlighted 4 in the Story County. And then also we were able to provide a meal as well. Some of those challenges, as we all know, we do face challenges are increasing child behaviors. So it is getting more difficult to manage those behaviors and retain our staff as well. So that just is a challenge that seems to be increasing and not diminishing. So that is our Kids Club program in a nutshell. Do you have questions about Kids Club?
I don't, I just recall, at least myself, my kids
Hmm.
participating in Kids Club.
Oh,
And just what a
yay.
benefit it was for them. They were in the Gilbert.
Oh,
one, so it was-
perfect. Yeah, we have 2 locations there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Been quite a while ago, but it was a good experience for them.
Well, that's good. I love that.
I did have a quick question
Yes.
about the Impact Teen Club, or can you speak to that?
Oh, I can, yeah.
So under challenges, it says last, many students are identifying themselves as LGBTQIA openly and proudly. I'm assuming that's not causing problems.
It's not causing problems. The new legislation is going to be causing problems with that. They're
Okay.
not going to be able to discuss that freely in a school setting. Whereas
Right.
at Teen Club, they do. They feel like they have a safe space. They have an environment. Many of those students actually for the first time come out at Teen Club. And so it is in a school setting, unfortunately. So the new legislation is going to cause that to be an
Oh.
issue.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jen.
okay. The next,
Excellent.
do you want me to
Do
move on?
One quick highlight on the next one.
Oh, mentoring. So mentoring, we are in 5 different schools in Story County, and then we are in 6 different school districts for a community-based. So we served a total of 211 students this year. And a lot of those mentees expressed just being able to have someone that they can go to and trust really, I guess, really made them feel safe. They made them feel special, especially in a school setting. Some of them go through very difficult times, and just having an adult to be able to talk to and relate actually really is beneficial for them. Do you have questions about mentoring?
The 211, are those Story County?
Those are only Story County. Yes. Yep. So if you'll see, that is our Ames, Ballard, Gilbert, Nevada, and Collins Maxwell. So we did serve 152 for the school based in those districts. And then for our community based, it included Roland Story, and that served 59.
That's great.
Yeah.
I hear wonderful things about the mentoring program.
Oh, good. Yes, it is a wonderful program. So yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Some of my best 45 minutes of the week hanging out with Javier at Kate Mitchell every Thursday during the school year. Emily Rebellozo has been with us for 14 years. And while many of the programs that Jen supports through CYFD are for all kids and families, regardless of socioeconomic status or connection to systems. Many of the youth that Emily are serving are connected to child welfare. That said, we also have crisis stabilization that's funded in part by the region and some Medicaid insurance, and that's also open for all kids. So go for it.
Thank you. Emily Rebellozo, Child Welfare Emergency Services Program Director. I'm going to just jump down to trends and some of the challenges that we're seeing for interest of time. Again, like Jen noted, we are also seeing an increase of behavioral concerns and elopements. For that, we're very excited to go to Ember campus because it's going to just be different. And although they are going to probably still elope, they'll be out on our property and not within the community. And so we'll have some different approaches there, and it won't be so enticing because Fairway won't be across the street probably. And then for our success and trends, they kind of go together. So something different I'm seeing this year is families calling multiple times. Before it'd be they'd call once or twice, maybe get some resources and choose to participate in a program, or you follow through with those resources. Now I'm seeing them call kind of over and over and over, and they're really relying on staff to talk them through their crisis with their kids. Sometimes it's just listening. I have talked to a parent for about 30 minutes. One of them in our success story, local parent, of just basically they wanted us to listen. They just need someone to talk to that's non-judgmental. They're not really looking for a place to put their kid right away, but just have someone hear them and say, it's okay. And this happens and it's okay. And so that's a trend that we're seeing. It does kind of go into a different challenge of just the workforce in general. And so with increased behaviors, that's more staff. And now parents needing staff on phones for longer, that's more staff. And so just trying to make sure we have the right people, the right space at the right time. YSS has made a lot of changes in recruitment and retention and really focusing on direct care and increasing the starting salary. So some of those things have recently been implemented and we're hoping that that kind of turns the tide here. But working with the challenging behaviors is very, very hard for a lot of people. And so we do see some retention of a year in direct care, which direct care is great. But a lot of those are staying about 6 months, I would say right now. Any questions?
Emily's doing a great job. She's dedicated a decade and a half to this agency and this work. Many of her management staff have been with there, maybe more than a decade as well. Some of them, 6 or 8 years. So the direct care piece is difficult, but obviously changing lives.
Thank you.
I'm going to close up real quickly and just give you an update on Ember Recovery Campus, if that's okay.
Thank you.
I could commiserate with Loris all day long because big ideas take a lot of time and support. Could not be more grateful for the support from Story County via Lisa and CICS. They believed in this idea, and I'm proud, and I hope you are as well, that Story County will be the hub for a best-in-class, nature-based, trauma-informed experiential campus that from an economic development standpoint, I did the math recently, over the next decade will help 5,000 kids, and it will be a $100 million investment in this county. So that's the 25 million of capital costs, nearly 50 million of salaries, and 25 million towards programs. I've got some construction photos, was talking to Latifa before, would love to have the supervisors out there and see it. This will be, like I said, 25 million plus invested and will help 300 to 500 kids a year, starting in Story County, kind of working out in concentric circles. We are extremely grateful for the partnerships, working right alongside Story County Conservation, right alongside Story County Sheriff, and ensuring that we just got like an amazing place for kids to come to, rekindle that fire that exists within. That's the name Ember. The essence is, a small fragment of fire that when cared for and nurtured, can become, a kid that's on fire for life. So we're grateful. We'll continue to provide updates as you want them, and happy to answer any questions.
When can we come see it?
Anytime. I'll follow up with an email after this meeting and we'll get something scheduled.
That would be great. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, and Hope Matheny, I think, is next. 18 years almost with the agency, and could not be more grateful for the ARPA investment in rapid rehousing. So I think she's next.
Great. Good morning, Hope.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Hope Matheny with YSS, and I'm the Transitional Housing Programs Director with the agency. Like Andrew said, I've been here almost 18 years, and over a decade of that has been specifically in housing. And so what the ARPA funds have allowed us to do is have more rapid rehousing units in Story County. And this is important because we want to provide the whole continuum of care of services, helping youth aged 18 to 24 with housing on a set time. We have chosen 1 year, helping them with rental assistance while providing case management, so that we can basically teach them how to be a good tenant. We have used a lot of best practices and evidence-based practices when implementing the programs. We are using trauma-informed care, harm reduction. Staff have now been rent-wise trained, so we can teach them the skills that they need to do and have to go out and become successful hopefully, if we put the time and energy into our youth, we can eliminate long-term chronic homelessness. And so that's really exciting work. We have now housed already 6 individuals for housing, and 1 or 2 of them are parents. And so we are getting it up and going. It's been a little bit slower than anticipated, getting more landlords on board. And one of the struggles with our Story County programming that we're running into is all leases really want to be on that August 1st to August 1st timeline. And so when we're looking in January, it's pretty limited, and we're really advocating for year-long or more leases. And 6 months, we don't want them hopping from place to place to place. And so we're really working on getting landlords on board with that model, and we'll continue to do so. One of the struggles I think has been that we've talked about is staffing and also food insecurity. As we see inflation going up more and more and more, that means our homeless individuals are in more and more need. One of the great things about ARPA is that we thought about that and put some food money in our budget. And so now staff are going with participants who need it to go monthly grocery shopping. And so that's pretty awesome.
That is great.
Any questions?
I do not.
Have you been participating in the meetings with Story County General Assistance Housing? There have been a couple of housing meetings. If not, I'll make sure and get you connected with Aaron.
Aaron, no, we're part of Two Rivers coordinated quarterly meetings, but I don't know
It's
general
different.
assistance.
This is kind of like an additional specific to Story County conversation that just has started up again. I guess it was happening pre-pandemic and now it's happening again. So I'll make sure that I check in with Aaron and get you looped into those conversations, because they're having conversations with landlords about these exact issues. So
Exactly. I would love the connection and to have Sam, one of my coordinators, or myself start to attend.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have none.
Okay. Thank you all. We really appreciate the report and the work that you all do. Okay, moving to consideration of minutes from June 2023.
I move approval of minutes as presented.
Second,
Moved and seconded, Hens.
Aye.
Merkin.
aye.
Basil, aye. Consideration of personnel actions.
I move approval of personnel actions as listed.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Merkin.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Consent agenda.
I move approval of consent agenda items as listed.
Second,
Moved and seconded, Hens.
Aye.
Merkin.
aye.
Basil, aye. Moving to public hearing items, we have consideration of perpetual right-of-way and easement to the city of Ames. Okay.
Okay.
Good
Good
work.
morning, Ethan.
Good morning. Thank you, board.
Hi,
Sorry for
Ethan.
being late. So this easement was brought to Joe Bean's attention by the city of Ames. They want to do some electrical work to go across the street to support the future Bridge Home campus. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joby, but they discovered they did not have an easement for their own utilities in the area. So now we're giving them a utility for what they already have in the ground and what additional they intend to put in the ground. There's a question from the board on where this located. Attached plat. Okay.
Thank you.
You'll see the Human Services Center building there, and in the southeast corner southeast corner, there's gonna be there's gonna be easement.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the building, it's basically where the generator sits. Just to the west of it's a transformer. And the line that feeds that transformer kind of goes underneath the section of the parking lot. So it's roughly a 15-foot wide by 100-foot long easement. Should have been done when the building was built, but it was overlooked. And when they started looking at the project across the road is when it was discovered that they don't have an easement for that. So
Okay. Do we have any questions for either? Hmm? Yeah. Okay, if there are no questions, we will open public hearing. Anyone wishing to make public comment, you can raise your hand on Zoom or step to the podium. And seeing no one raise their hand or step forward, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have any other questions or comments? Nope.
I would move approval of the perpetual right-of-way and easement to the city of Ames as described.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Merkin,
Aye.
Edens.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thank you.
thank you.
Under additional items, we have consideration of resolution 23-103 appropriation resolution. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. The budget that was approved in March takes effect Saturday. Well, Monday, that's our first
Mhm.
day of business. And in order to spend those funds, we have to appropriate the dollars. What you have in front of you is an appropriation resolution for 50% of all the departments, with the exception of general county betterment and countywide services. Okay? So all the rest of them are 50%, and then I'll just come to you when we need to do additional appropriation. So this will allow us to start the new fiscal year.
Great. Any questions?
Nope. I
All
move
right.
approval of resolution 23-103, the appropriation resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Edens.
Aye.
Merkin.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Moving to consideration of resolution 23-104 interfund operating resolution.
This is also the budgeted transfers that we put into the budget when we prepared it. I do not do these transfers typically right away. I wait until some of the tax dollars start coming in, but I like to have it in place so that it's ready to go as opposed to coming back to you and taking care of them. So this is basically just the budgeted transfers.
Any questions?
Nope. I move approval of resolution 23-104 interfund operating resolution as described.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Edens.
Aye.
Merkin.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thank you,
Thanks.
Lisa.
Happy New Year to us.
Yes, happy new year.
Fiscal year.
Yeah.
Moving now to discussion and consideration of continued sponsorship of the symposium on building inclusive organizations. The chamber reached out a couple of weeks ago, just asking if we were interested in continuing the sponsorship that we did last year. They have changed the symposium. I believe it's been on a Tuesday and part of a Wednesday, and it's now all on Wednesday. So just opening that up for conversation if we wanted to continue to support the symposium, if we wanted to change the amount.
Is that the amount that we've provided previously?
That's what that last year was the first year that we provided any financial sponsorship, and that was the level that we sponsored last year.
So it includes 10 complimentary tickets, it says. Okay.
And instead of being 2 days, it's 1 day?
Yeah. I believe it was one day last year also.
It's
I don't
2
believe
half days,
was it 2 half days?
I think it was. Not
I
positive.
don't remember. I thought some of it was on our board meeting day.
In previous years, some of it had been on Tuesdays. And we had asked if they could maybe make that on a different day. But I don't remember if last year it was 2 days or 1 day. I thought it was all 1 day, but
It could be, I
there
don't
have been a lot of
remember.
events.
Notice.
Trying to think a year ago was a little.
Yeah. I'll just throw this out.
What were the other levels? I guess this
Uh,
is platinum
eh,
level.
Really any level that we wanted to contribute to. I don't know what their specific levels are,
Gotcha.
just that if we wanted to sponsor at a different level, that they'd be happy to accept any sponsorship amount.
I just wasn't sure if like platinum was like 5,000 above, gold was, you know, if they had those type of levels.
I'm sure they do, but I don't have the
I gotcha.
information.
Okay, okay.
What's the date of symposium again?
November 15. I know I have personally attended all, but I think one, maybe two. I didn't attend the very first one that ever happened. And then there was one during COVID where I didn't participate. And I've walked away with something from every single one that I've attended. And I think there's a lot of really valuable information shared and opportunities for growth and learning. And I would like to see us continue to support it, if not at this level, at some level. And the more support they have from the community and organizations, the more diverse speakers they'll be able to bring in. I don't know. I just think it's important.
Did we utilize all 10 slots last year? Did we? Okay. I think that's the important thing to look at, is because there's value in sponsoring, there's also value in getting people there. And I presume we'll be able to fill all those slots again, because it is a good, I agree, it's a good event. It gives good information to bring back.
We filled all slots plus one.
Plus one,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, I would say, you know, we know we're going to be losing some revenues next year, so I'm concerned about whether we'd be able to continue sponsorship in the future, but I would be willing to move that we sponsor the symposium, building inclusive organizations, this year at the $5,000 level.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Merkin.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thank you. Moving to discussion and consideration for road closing for manure application. Good morning, Darren.
Good morning.
Okay.
Okay. What we have on the agenda today is approval of the new policy, and I'll just read the first paragraph here. It's for the purpose of the policy is to provide a guideline for response to requests to Story County roads with hoses or pipelines for application of liquid manure from livestock facilities. What this policy does for me as a roads department engineer is it gets the heavy loads off of our pavements that the manure haulers do with the tanks. They're extremely heavy and they do damage pavements. So by doing the hoses, that takes those loads off our highways. The downside of this is there's a possibility for a spill in the road right away with these hoses, but there's also potential for spills with the heavy trucks as well. We discussed it in many meetings and revised it many times, and I think we've got a pretty good policy in place now, to where I feel pretty comfortable with where we're at. We can always change it if something arises that we haven't foreseen. We did send letters out to as many local applicators as we could find and some of the bigger CAFOs in the area to give them the proposed policy, and we hadn't heard back from any of them at this point. We did also send it to Ethan for review, mainly for the fines portion, and we do have a code of ordinance that already addresses our fines, so we just had to refer to that specific code. And Ethan had no other changes at this time. One other question, Linda, you had a question about we added that they have at least a minimum of 2 employees on site to detect a spill in a timely fashion. And that is on the permit side. I view the policy as more of the general type stuff. The permit form is actually what the applicators sign off on. And to me, they probably read this more. So I wanted to have it in the actual permit instead of the policy itself, but we could add it to both if you'd like.
As long as it's in the permit that I still had on file just said enough employees, and you've changed that to 2 employees.
Correct.
Good.
Applicant shall have enough employees, in parentheses, minimum of 2 on
Minimum of
site
2. Okay.
to detect a spill.
So do you think that everything, I think you're probably right. They sign the permit, they don't sign the policy. So hopefully if they're going to read something, it's going to be that. Do you think there's anything else in the policy you need to get in the permit? Or are you satisfied that everything needed is in the permit?
I think the permit's pretty comprehensive.
It looked, yeah, I didn't check it off. And since I don't have the newest version, it would have been, yeah.
And the permit refers to the policy as well, so everything that's in the policy should be reflected here.
So where in the policy does the number of people on site line up? Is there which condition? Is it in here at all? Because
It's not in the policy, it's in the actual permit. The permit has a few more detailed type things like that in it than the policy.
do you,
And
my
they're
only
signing,
concern is that someone will read the permit. They will also read the policy and they will say your permit says this, but your policy doesn't say this at all. So your permit, it does not match your policy. That's my only concern.
That was gonna be my question. And then I also
Okay.
didn't see in the policy referencing the penalties as well.
that's the last number 15 references the penalties.
Oh, I do see it there. Okay.
Yeah, refers to our
Yep.
ordinance there.
Yep.
So that's the penalty portion. I'm trying to see anywhere else that. I don't think the policy itself gets into the number on site. It's strictly the permit. And they do sign the permit, so they are acknowledging that. If you want to see it there might be some other things in the permit that aren't in the policy, so we'd have to. If you want everything in the policy, we'd have to review that as well, but can do that.
Oh, if we approve the policy right now, we can still add to it.
Yeah.
I'm probably comfortable enough with it being in the permit. Because I know that you're not going to change it without coming back to us.
Yeah, I'd have to come back to change the policy.
But the permit, you wouldn't drop something that's in the permit that's not in the policy.
No, would never do that, no.
Okay. I know you've done a lot of work on this and I know you need to get it in place.
Yeah.
So
I think just based on wouldn't drop anything in the permit that isn't in the policy. Did I hear that correct?
that was my question, Darren.
Right. But we don't have the number of people in the policy. So
I'm
that's,
saying, what my question was, is you wouldn't drop anything out of the application, or the permit application, just because it's not in the policy, and Darren said he wouldn't.
okay, because it's
Yeah.
not, I misheard you.
We've
so-
always typically brought any of our permit changes to the board as well, so.
Okay,
Yeah, okay. No, I misheard you, so thanks for the clarification. So I don't have any other questions then.
So we're approving the policy. I'm sorry, we're approving the policy, not the permit.
Correct.
Do we then later have to approve the permit?
Oh, like I say, we don't do a lot of new policies. It's been a long time since we've done one, so I guess I'll take that guidance from the board. I had only intended to approve the policy, and the permit just kind of complemented it.
Okay.
And we've had the permit on all the prior board agendas, but
Okay.
this one, I just wanted to get approval on the policy.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I'd make a motion for approval for road crossing for manure application as discussed.
Second,
Moved and seconded, Hens,
Aye.
Merkin,
aye.
Basil, aye. Thanks for your work on that
Yep.
too. Moving to discussion and consideration of purchase order for Stellar T-Max 30K9 aluminum mechanic body from Hawkeye Truck Equipment.
Yes. What we have here is, this is for our sign truck. We were able, there's like everything else, shortage on the truck itself and the body makers. We were able to acquire a truck, which just was delivered last week. I will point out, since we won't get it paid for till this week, so it'll come out of, the truck will come out of FY24 as well. But it was budgeted, the truck was budgeted in FY23, so we'll have to amend this year's FY24 budget to account for the truck. Now, the body we had budgeted in FY24 is $75,000. It came in a little higher than we expected. We're finding that with these bodies, the prices have skyrocketed, steel prices and the availability of people that can even do it. We were able to find one person, Hawkeye, who does all of our dump truck bodies for us as well. Was able to commit to a January build slot. Most other companies we contacted would even quote us, or they'd be out 2 years. So this is one we could find in a short time frame and have what we needed. I showed you yesterday on site what our survey truck needs were, and we're adding a crane to what we don't have on our current truck. A lot of times we have a one-person sign crew and he has to carry essentially a jackhammer down in the steep ditches to pound the posts in. And then he has to bring the heavy posts with the signs on them to get them in the slot. And this crane will lift them both out for him into the ditch. It'd be much safer and easier to do. So it'd be a big benefit for us. So we have a difference of from 75,000 budgeted up to the 109. The difference there, I hope to make some of that up by, we did get the mechanics truck, which was similar truck last year. We were fortunate to get that in as early as we did, because that would have cost a lot more if we got it this year, looking at the current prices. But so the old mechanics truck is somewhat in high demand now, so we expect to get more money out of it than we originally thought. So we're going to put that up for an auction here. So just a wild guess for maybe 15,000-20,000 we can get out of that. And then we have 2 tandem trucks in FY24 for 610,000. I don't think there's any chance we're going to see those get delivered in FY24. We haven't even received our last truck we were supposed to get in February, has not showed up yet. So that's another budget amendment in 24 we're going to have to do for last year's. But so this 610 won't get spent in FY24. So we'll have, well, the money will be there for this extra anyway. Any other questions on it at all?
I don't have any questions. I'm glad you're adding the crane to the truck.
Yeah, it's most counties are going that direction, and some are even going with it's something that slides out that you can walk out like a walkway. But again, that another county. We were comparing other counties too, and they had a $260,000 quote that included a walkway in theirs, but we think the crane itself will be, help us out a ton. We can do without the walkway.
I don't have any further questions. Okay, I'd move that we approve the purchase order for the truck body from Hawkeye Truck Equipment for $109,866 out of the 24 budget.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Merkin.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thanks, Darren.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks again for the tour yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving to discussion and consideration of revisions to the asset policies and procedures. Good morning,
Morning.
Sandra.
Hey, we had some fairly light changes this time. So I just narrowed those down to the main ones. So on page 3, we have the addition of the Community Impact Director. She's an employee of the United Way and she manages the Clear Impact Scorecard, and that's something that all of the funders pay for. It tracks outcomes for the asset agencies. Tenure of members on page 4. Asset has a pretty big transition coming up, and in order to save or retain some institutional knowledge, we're changing the consecutive terms that volunteers can serve from 2 to 3. Naturally, that's not mandatory, but we certainly hope that they will opt to stay that 3rd term. Also clarifying language on page 4 regarding the replacement volunteers, and just sort of making it clear who the volunteers should contact if they're going to be absent, preferably the admin assistant, but they can also contact funder staff as well. We're just clarifying that bit. And then the final one is the returning services. So we're doing, making this change so that it's much like adding new and expanded services, so that we're all aware of what's being changed. And the example is that an agency might request funding this FY, skip next FY, and then FY after that, come back with funding again. We want to get more information about those services and ensure that it's something that the funders still want to pay for. And those are the primary changes. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Seem like reasonable changes.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need the policies and procedures approved. You're okay with that?
Yeah, I'd make the motion to approve the asset policies and procedures revisions as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Hens.
Aye.
Merkin.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
We have no departmental reports today. Under other reports, we have ARPA quarterly report. Hi, Leanne.
Good one. I watched told me to. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
The item on your agenda this morning is the actually the quarterly report dating back from January to March 2023. We are delayed getting it on the board's agenda. So you actually within the next month or so will see this current quarter's quarterly report on your agenda. It seems a little bit odd, but that's just timing issues. I submitted it to you in email last week and put on the agenda. I just had a couple questions I received, particularly regarding the United Way Story County, the Child Care Coalition. And if you look on page 23 of the report, it discusses the employee turnover rates and staff retention rates. Really, since this is only the second report, we really haven't had a chance to do some in-depth analysis of trends. So I reached out to United Way Story County to actually get percentages of those rates. And I do have that information to share. The employee turnover rates, they indicate, as indicated, are 36 employees, and that's at 23% rate of employees leaving. And then for staff retention, with a number of 120 employees, that 77% of employees were retained. I'll answer any questions on the report. As you notice, with each report we get, it's going to get a little bit more detailed. As we get further into probably not the next report, but the second one to come, we'll have some trends that we can start to put together. We're not there yet just because this will be the first or the third report I've submitted. I'm starting to develop spreadsheets for each subrecipient. Once those are finalized, I'll share them with the board. Those will be on the S drive. But that's where we can start to follow the trends and have individualized reporting then beyond just what is reported to U.S. Treasury, because that's, as you know, less than what is in this report. That's really one of the upcoming items that will be very time consuming. I think I spent 2 hours last week on the first one. So it will take quite some time to do that, but we don't have a software program, and Excel will allow us to do at least some trends analysis. You go to that document, please, Bryce. The other thing I'm working on is the website. I can't show it to you live because I'd have to take down what we have right now, and I didn't want to screw anything up. So this is just a PDF of what it may look like. As you know, right now we have just the basic information, who the subrecipients were, the U.S. Treasury guidance, the final plan, and then the links to the forms. If you'll see the success stories dashboard and partners, that's where it'll be interactive. You'll click on each of those, and the success stories will take you to our subrecipients and some of what we're hearing as messages. The dashboard, I'll come to next, but the partners will actually be reporting rather than partners. It's kind of redundant to say success stories and partners. So I haven't had a chance to change that yet, but you'll click on that and you'll be able to go to see all the different reports that we're filing. The next image on there will just be a static image of the timeline. This is from that document that we've put together that has been released. If you could go to the next page though. Unfortunately, we don't have the software system that a lot of jurisdictions are using to develop these kinds of reports, really interactive and with tables and images that allow you to click on it. But when you go to dashboard, what I can do with Excel is make static tables, whatever, that will show the percentages of the different areas of the projects. It won't be as flashy like a lot of these are. I think this is what, Washoe County in Oregon or Washington, where you can click on it and it's really more interactive. We don't have the ability to do that right now with the software we have, but I hope to have this totally finalized and ready to go by the end of July. I can't really put anything out there until we finish the spreadsheets so that we can start having those charts and graphs to place out there. But that's an idea of kind of the direction we're going. If you have any more of those square boxes you'd like to have me add, we can do that too. Anything else you'd like to see included? So I will share this with the board via email. It definitely is a work in progress and, you know, on the downtime working on it. Then the other big thing that really starts this month are my on-site visits. I have 4 scheduled starting the week of July 11th. And that is part of the ongoing subrecipient monitoring. I'll be spending 3 to 4 hours on site. We are doing one virtually. That's Project Iowa because they don't have an office in Story County. And then we do have some outstanding agreements yet. I've received the one from, I think, Colotel, the broadband agreement from them. I'm waiting from Huxcom and Stratford. They have those. Well, we're waiting to hear back from them. I have the Child Care Center in Colo to send out, and then still waiting for a discussion on the Aquatic Center in Ames. But beyond that, all the agreements are finalized, and all the subrecipient monitoring schedules out there. And as you well know, you're receiving a lot of ARPA annual reports coming your way too. Yeah, sorry, the limited agendas the past couple months have had to push things back, so we had to put a lot on you at one time, including this report. I think that's about it. Do you have any questions?
Do you know what the software is that some of those other?
365. What am I trying to say?
Office 365?
Office 365.
5 would do
Mhm.
it. Oh,
Yes.
dear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, next project. I didn't know that. Is it part of Excel in 365 or
No.
is it just a whole? a
It's
different-
SharePoint, isn't it?
No, it's, and actually I put a work order into IT and they did load it on my computer, but it's meaningless for me to have it because I can't access the document. If you can go down to the bottom. Oh, I didn't copy it. I thought I copied it. It's like B1 or something. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it is Office 365. And if, as you see dashboards, you see that, yes, that's what they're using. We have a way to use Story Map, which is our GIS software, to do some of this as well and make it visual that people can see the location where projects are, like we're doing with the CIP. So I'm toying with that. The key is those spreadsheets, though.
Right.
Getting that done first.
If you finish the spreadsheets and then you end up having access to Office 365, is that transferable or does it mean you have to start all of your work over?
I don't know. I would assume they would be transferable since Office 365 is an enhancement supposedly of all the Microsoft products.
Okay.
Yeah, just playing with it, what I did, that whatever that program's called, it does appear to be tied to an Excel or that type of a platform. I didn't spend a lot of time with it.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well, I like what you've done so far.
thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you.
Ann. Any upcoming agenda items?
No.
Now it's time for public comment number 2. Comments from public on items not on this agenda. The board may not take any action on the comments due to requirements of open meetings law, but may do so in the future. Anyone wishing to make public comment, you can raise your hand on Zoom or step forward to the table. Seeing no one on Zoom or step forward, we'll close public comment number 2 and move to liaison assignments, committee meeting updates and announcements from the supervisors. Supervisor Merkin, want to start?
Certainly. Tomorrow is our Economic Development Group Summit, and it's on broadband this year, and we're all excited about that and hearing from people about the recent BEAD funding that's coming down. Iowa just got an announcement on how much money. And will really be interesting to hear from the OCIO about what their plan is to get a plan in 180 days. I found that interesting. So we're looking forward to that. A Zoom meeting tomorrow night with emergency management on Ragbri, also at Ames Public Library, running for office. I don't know how I'm going to attend both of those. We'll see. On Thursday, I have a Watershed Management Authority meeting with Headwaters in Roland in the morning. In the afternoon, it looks like we have a Polk Story 1 drainage district. And in the evening, hazardous mitigation planning. So going to be a busy couple of days there. I will be out Friday and through the 4th, back in on the 5th. I might try to zoom in on the meeting on the 3rd because there is one agenda item I'd like to talk about. I just realized I might need to give some information on. So I will try to zoom in on the 3rd if possible. If not, Leanne will have it covered.
Okay,
So.
great.
I just have a couple meetings this afternoon. I have the same Story County Economic Development tomorrow. I also have a NACO Healthy Counties meeting in the afternoon, and then the elected officials panel Wednesday night. Thursday, I have a 10:30 phone call meeting. I'm going to try to, if I've got time, to run over to Ames for it's Deb Shieldross farewell, starting at 1 o'clock, but we've got a 1:45 drainage, so I may leave there early and be like the first one there and then scoot right on back here. I believe RSVP also has a celebration up in Story City in the afternoon at 4. And then I do have the Story County Hazard Mitigation. My understanding that's via Zoom Thursday night.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Friday I've got a workforce meeting Friday morning. And then I will be here Monday for the board meeting in the office. I may take off a couple hours early on Friday just to go out of town, but I will be here Monday morning.
Okay, great. Well, today's my mom's birthday, so happy birthday, Mom. And we have a special closed session meeting this afternoon. With the attorneys, do you have that on your, okay. And then the Story County Economic Development Summit tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I have a Boost Process Committee meeting, and then the Story County RAGBRAI Planning meeting. They kind of overlap, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. Thursday, Sandra and I are going out to Hickory Grove and driving around, taking a look at the campground and the park in the morning. And then Thursday afternoon, I have a Juneteenth committee meeting just to recap the events. And then Drainage District meeting. Thursday night, I have a CFR meeting at the same time as the hazard mitigation meeting.
Okay. I'll be at hazard mitigation.
Okay. Friday, I've got CIJDC, and then I'm getting my multi-factor authentication set up with IT, I think. Yep, and I'll be here on Monday for the meeting. And that's it.
I did notice there's a brown bag luncheon on water quality on Friday,
Yes.
which I'm not going to be able to be at. If one of you's here, I hope you're able to just drop in.
I will be here, and I'm going to plan to try to make that as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, if there is nothing else,
I move we adjourn.
Second,
moved and seconded. Heddens.
Aye.
Merkin.
aye.
Basil. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.